it away, Murphy.
Hello.
Hey. What's up?
Nothing. What's up with you, John? How are you?
This is blah 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 Atlanta. And so then, first thing I wanted to do, though, I was thinking about something. And the other night we did the show Sunday night. I just wanted to actually publicly, even though it's not really publicly. Cause like I said, there's, I don't know, 8, 7. Who cares how many people in the chat room? There's 2 people listening to the goddamn show right now. But I'm gonna turn around, I think, tonight and post this onto YouTube. I'll try and get it up tonight so people can hear it, because I wanted to like kind of a public apology to you.
Me?
Yeah. Sunday, I felt like, after going back and listening to the show, it was a little extra hard on you.
During when? What part?
Sunday's show, just in
like,
general.
The whole thing?
Yeah.
Well, I did cry on Monday. It's like crying my eyes out. So maybe you probably added a bit to the stress.
I appreciate you letting me know that, but in any case, I was just letting you know.
Well, thank you.
I'm sorry.
I accept your apology. Thank you.
All right. Now that we're past that, keep your mouth shut so I can talk. But I don't know if you realize this or not, but Jesus. Well, we won't talk about that.
Okay.
But yeah, so I was a little extra hard. Shouldn't have been that hard, and so I just wanted to apologize. So then we kind of move along there, and then for me to say that I said I was going to be doing YouTube videos, and I just haven't had the time. I've been working on my motorcycle, and fucking Monday night I ended up at work till 3 o'clock in the goddamn morning.
Ouch.
Yeah, 17 hours. And then then Tuesday I just didn't even go to work, cause why would I? And so I was in no condition to think yesterday, and so today I'm obviously doing the show, so there'll be no YouTube video today either. So anyway, you were mentioning before the show started about Silvio Berlusconi. No, actually you were talking about Prodi.
Yeah,
Resigned
his
his
successor.
Yeah.
After 9 months in office. Sad. Yes, apparently. On Saturday, I really don't know enough. I haven't had time to read all of it. I heard, it happened today. He resigned today, and
well, I'm looking for it.
I think it was polls, maybe? This part. It says, polls show that if a vote were held today, Berlusconi would, oh wait, no. Okay, well, I guess this says that Berlusconi would eke out a narrow victory. It says that, if they voted again, he would win. Now, was Berlusconi the guy who, swore off sex until he won the election? Or was it, Prodi?
I don't remember that about him, but, Berlusconi is a strange kind of character, because I know some Italians, from Italy, because of my job, and they come here to work. But anyway, Italians don't like Berlusconi.
Really?
For the most, yeah, they call him all kinds of names or whatever, but they generally vote for him because he's like the best thing going.
Oh.
And that's the political situation pretty much anywhere. Look at George W. Bush, but
right.
Hey, because at the time he was the best thing going. Yeah, Berlusconi is a media giant. He owns the largest media organization in Italy, and
Mussolini. Anyone? That's like kind of scary when your leading person also owns the media.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So I guess, that was kind of that's a pretty interesting, good call. But yeah, he's a point of contention in Italy. But it's like, but take for example when Romano Prodi is elected, he lasts for 9 months.
Mhm. Yeah. The interesting thing is that the key issue, and why I think this is like extremely mentionable besides the fact that okay, well, did you find out if it was who voted? Was it the parliament that voted? I think the parliament voted. It was a non-binding vote, but they voted to kick Prodi out, and he took that as a sign that he should probably leave.
Well,
So
I've got it here that basically there were some issues of foreign policy. You may be speaking of it in specific, but I think it was just generally that his part of the government, his majority or minority or whatever the hell party he belongs to, lost.
He belongs to the left center, I think.
Yes, so that it was like an embarrassing. Very similar to what happened here in America when the Democrats won over the Republicans.
Right.
And this is kinda, but I think it was more over an issue they were voting on.
Mm-hmm.
So he
yeah.
just kind of took it and resigned.
Well, I just think that's really interesting because that's an example of the legislature sort of checking the executive branch, or their equivalent of that,
Mm-hmm. Well, kind of, but I mean, it was a resignation. He didn't have to resign. I think he did it out of posterity. That's something.
Yeah, if he didn't, though, it'd be a lot of bad press for him. I don't think people would be very happy about that, would they?
Well, who cares? Nobody's happy about George Bush right now. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like stay the course. That's what Berlusconi did all those years. That's what Tony Blair. Has Tony Blair resigned yet? Because
No.
he announced that he would be stepping down in 2007. And
I don't.
whatever.
Yeah.
Not okay. Well, all right.
Okay. Well, Prodi was apparently he was against the war in Iraq, and he was against supporting the U.S. in the war, and he said that he vowed to withdraw Italy's nearly 3,000 troops from Iraq by the end of 2006. Has that happened?
Who?
I mean, the end of 2006 has come and gone.
Yeah.
Has that happened? Are there any
Has-
Italian troops?
I believe there are. I'm uncertain because here's the thing: Italy, not necessarily a heavyweight.
Yeah, I know. I am quite a fan of Italy, though, so because I mean they make good movies and.
No, they don't. They make good food.
Excuse me?
Nah, because I'll tell you, I was thinking about Martin Scorsese today.
Uh-huh.
I was thinking, he's a good director, and he loves his mob movies and everything, and I watched the movie The Departed the other night.
That's a good film.
Yeah, it is, and all of his movies are really good, but I noticed something very, very peculiar about him that it just hit me today. I said, you know what? He is one of the most racist son of a bitches ever.
Oh.
Towards, guess who?
Italians?
No. The
Who?
Irish. Who gets
Oh.
fucked in his movies more often than the Irish? And who's the martyr? The Italians are always the martyrs.
I just
Anytime.
realized that.
Look at
Wow.
look at like Goodfellas or The Departed.
Or Gangs of New York.
Sure, yeah, that's right. He's always bashing on fucking Irish people.
Actually, the Irish people win in Gangs of New York.
What I'm saying is he
But the
makes
Irish
them look
people all
dirty.
fight each other.
He makes
Yeah.
he makes Irish look like the fucking scum of the earth. They're responsible for everything. Look at the
Ooh.
movie The Departed. It concentrates on the corruptness of this Irish gang. And then whenever you do see Italians, they're just being murdered by Irish. I mean, the greatest example ever, that I could think of just right off the top of my head was, as a matter of fact, Goodfellas, Of course, Casino draws up a lot of that too. But Goodfellas, I mean, the whole premise of the stories is these guys aren't in the mob simply because they're not fully Italian. The only one that was fully Italian was Joe Pesci, right? But he mixed with the Irish, and that made him fucking evil. So Joe Pesci's character in Goodfellas was the nastiest fucking bastard, and he ended up getting killed by the mob. You see what I'm saying? For killing somebody in the mob years before. And then in the end, an Irishman turns out to be the rat. But he was mixed Irish-Italian, but he turned out to be the rat, and he got humiliated at the end of the story. And then there was Robert De Niro's character, who was also half Irish. And then Casino, look at Joe Pesci's character again, he gets martyred in that movie. Some other mob people carry him out and beat the shit out of him and his brother and bury him in the same hole. But then the star of the movie, Lefty Rosenthal, he just turns out to be a sellout. He's Irish.
Ouch.
Yeah. I was like, well, that's a little weird.
It's a little weird, yeah. But it makes compelling stories no matter what.
Well, most of them, they're based on true stories. All of them were. I mean, Goodfellas was written by, what's that fucker's name in real life? It was based on his story that he told. And he was, what's his name? Ray Liotta. The character that Ray Liotta played. I mean, it was based around that guy's life, and it's a true story. Lufthansa heist, all that stuff actually happened. Casino, Lefty Rosenthal is a real person. It was all based around Lefty Rosenthal's life, and right up until they attempted to murder him. And The Departed is based loosely on the Irish-Italian gangster, or I say Irish-Italian, but he's considered an Irishman, Whitey Bulger. The real-life gangster who was an FBI informant, but simply because he had friends, two guys that he grew up with, who were in the FBI. And he used that to his advantage, and they used that to their advantage but the truth was that because they kept telling their superiors, they kept telling their superiors that, he's the best thing we got out there and all this, so they're letting him run wild. And then, I mean, I'm just talking about the true story of Whitey Bulger. And then after, he's running wild or whatever, and then an actual mob boss there in Boston gets murdered, and Whitey ends up taking all of, basic control of everything, and they're still, the cops are still telling their superiors, when he's an informant, he's telling us everything. But he had created a monopoly around Boston. And then, so that was what that movie was loosely based on, was the story of Whitey Bulger, and so it's like,
God, that was such an awesome movie.
So it's like, it's true stories, but it's like Scorsese likes to amplify it, which is, that's art, And I'm not saying, hey, fuck him, his movies suck. No, they're great movies, and I love them. I just thought that was really peculiar.
Definitely.
Yeah, of course, I sit back and I say, well, they're based on true stories anyway, so you can't really fault it.
Well, I don't know, just that, like, some directors and some artists, they have definite themes throughout their work, and it reveals something about their character. I don't know what that says, but that's funny. No, Italy puts out, like, amazing films and amazing art. Granted, maybe not a lot of amazing art in the last
500 years?
No, not 500. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
There's a few great works.
Well, really, I say 500 because that was like the beginning of the Renaissance, but probably I'd say a good solid 300 years. Nothing good has come out of Italy.
Well, no, spaghetti westerns, Italian neo-realism. See, what are all the good Italian movies that are out? I don't know. The Italians good with cinema. Europeans are good with cinema, but Italians especially. They like set waves, because Italian neo-realism set up the wave for French New Wave, which influenced, like everything since new wave came about?
Well, it's one thing to start waves, and that's a lot of fun, and you can kind of always refer back to those people. But the fact is that who makes movies? Hollywood, Americans. And if you're Italian and you're especially artistic, you want to make movies, you want to actually do something successful.
You come to Hollywood.
You come to the United States, baby.
Pride.
Despite all of my my beating up on the United States, this is actually it's a lot of interesting people here. It's a good place to be if you want to do anything.
Oh, I see Diana Chance is in the room.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So how was your talk? I mean, I don't know if this is relevant.
I don't remember.
Oh, okay. So
I got it recorded though. I was going to post it, I think, on YouTube. I guess the edited version. Jesus Christ! Because at the end there, I think I was going to sleep. So yeah, that's where we're at on that. But a nice lady, smart lady, and trying to do something a little different on YouTube. So. And all that. So anyway, I'm just kind of flipping through the news here. So if you have anything, but I'd like to bring it to everybody's attention. This is something that I took. I liked it. I thought it was funny. Ahmadinejad announced the other day. I don't know if you heard about this, but he said that he was absolutely willing to suspend his nuclear enrichment activities as long as everyone else would do the same.
Yes.
That's fucking brilliant. Why didn't I think of that? So I was like, awesome, Of course, no one complied, and the United States, or the United Nations, condemned them today. But I thought it was a great idea. I mean, why not? And if you really want to sit down and talk to somebody, then you got to be able to reciprocate a little bit. So instead of just making goddamn demands all the time, and that was part of his speech. It's like, all right, it was fine if you want to work with somebody and be diplomatic, but this is not diplomatic.
Right.
The whole thing, the whole condemnation, the U.S. pushing for sanctions and pushing and pushing and pushing, and I don't know why that makes such a big difference. I mean, I do know why. It's just, why is it that way? It's retarded.
Definitely.
I think one of the most valuable things you could do in the near term is, if as far as foreign policy goes, is suspend the United States veto power in the United Nations. 6 months, a year, maybe.
Why? Because they. Why would the United Nations do that? Though? What reason would they give?
Who cares? I mean, what reason does the United States give for anything that they do? None. They never give reasons. They just say, "Whoa, we insist." And so, all right. Well, then we insist that you no longer have a veto power, so that we can, the rest of the world can vote on stuff and actually pass it in the interest of everybody around the world. Not some kind of weird, diluted, whatever idea in the United States. I mean, whatever. It's all very confusing, and for everybody just to understand it, I'm not 100% right now. But I'm not high and I'm not drunk.
Woo!
Yeah.
I've
got a little bit of a headache is all.
So, I was just thinking about, the current political climate in the U.S. and about this whole Prodi thing. It reminded me, what do you think, are Ron Paul's chances getting, good or anything? Because I keep seeing Ron Paul stuff everywhere.
That's so hard to say, because I think if John McCain wasn't there, then he would, and a lot of people would. Then it would become kind of a smorgasbord of contenders. But the fact is that as long as John McCain's there, that's the Republican was just given. John McCain's going to get the Republican nomination. I mean, why say anything else? and if people are like, well, it's a kind of open season. No, not on the Republicans side. It's not open season. It's not open season on the Democrat side. As a matter of fact, it's never open season for candidacy.
Right.
You've got certain people when they run. There's a lot of that energy around them that people are drawn to, and that's it.
Okay, I have a question just about U.S. politics. So say one of the big presidential contenders, like McCain, say that he didn't want to go with the Republican Party, right? And there's no way in hell he'd go with the Democratic Party. So he splits off, right? He's a well-known guy. I mean, if he split off and he went like his own party, or he went like the McCain party or third party or whatever, do you think that because he's so well known he'd have a chance whatsoever? Or is going third party like falling into a black hole?
Yes.
It is?
Yeah.
So that means that like our political system, it's not even about the people running. It's about the party lines.
Yeah. It's not even about the party's ideals. I mean, it's not even that complicated. Mm-hmm. It's just, well, people are kind of born and raised to think, well, I'm Republican or Democrat. And you learn kind of early on, those goddamn Democrats or those goddamn Republicans, and that's it. You're going to support your party, and so people don't put a second thought into that. And so if you get a split-off candidate like that, the only thing
what are they going to think?
Well, you get kind of a cult kind of thing where.
Right.
Look at like Ross Perot, back in the 90s, that was this big thing, and he had, he got like 3% of the vote or something, but it was like, it was, you would get everybody looking and saying, oh, that kind of person, or, oh, just generally you'll get that, oh, or, yeah, well, yeah, that too, you get the, and then people go for security and what in their their ideas and beliefs. It's not even ideas. I hate to keep saying ideas because people generally
don't have ideas.
No, when it comes to politics, that's what they join political parties for or vote for them or whatever. That they just kind of support them simply because they feel like they can align themselves with that belief. So you've got these beliefs, and if somebody splits off from them, then you see that as, well, okay, I can no longer align myself with that person. Mm-hmm. Period. I mean, it's just that they're not part of my club anymore.
That's awful.
Yeah.
But, it's everywhere it happens.
Which is why people don't do that.
Definitely, yeah.
But you get somebody like Ron Paul. I mean, he's running on the Republican ticket, which is kind of a weird thing to people that are like he's advertising to.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of and so that in itself causes some amount of confusion because I think his biggest audience is people like us, but because I think on the surface, whenever you look at Republican Democrat, people like us would lean more towards Democrat. Mm-hmm. But
what?
Well, perhaps. I don't know. I'm not speaking for everybody. I'm just saying that given a choice, if you're in that if you're in that mindset of, well, it's either or.
Yeah, left or right, polar opposites.
Yeah, so.
But they're not. Ugh.
I'm just saying it gives kind of a confusing message because, like, people that like watch America Freedom to Fascism, they're going to think. I think people perceive things as being liberal or conservative and identifying that directly with Democratic or Republican.
It's such crap.
Which is not the case. That's right. So it's kind of, it gets a little complicated, and that's exactly what makes it not work, is that it's too complicated for people to think about. Why should you be asked to think about that much? So it's actually in error for Ron Paul to try and get any new audience on the supposed left side, or I mean on the right side. It would actually be like for him to come up and say, how can I put this? Like like, because of his current audience now, people that would be more liberal-minded, for him to go and try and get a new audience that are conservative-minded would be fallacy, because then the liberal-minded are the most likely to say, oh, well, he's going after conservatives. You know, he's shifting, because the liberals tend to be a little more puritanical in their beliefs.
Maybe.
When it comes to liberalism, you know, and certain, well, I mean puritanical in the sense, no conservatives allowed in the definition of the word. So, I don't know. I mean, it's like I said, Ron Paul, he's going to have to. I would not want to be his campaign manager.
Right.
I mean, that would be the worst job ever, because you wouldn't know what to do. Who in the hell are you supposed to appeal to? I mean, because you tell liberal stuff that they like, but wait a minute, he's Republican? Fuck that. That's what people are going to say.
God. I mean, okay, something that's really getting on my nerves lately is these stigmas that are attached to different ideas that keep people from just looking at them logically. You know, they have this, like, emotive, gut reaction, and it just completely shuts off all logical thinking. Fucking completely. You know? I mean, you mentioned, like, taxes, and people have a ready-made answer for that. You mentioned, schools, and people have a ready-made answer for that. Immigration, ready-made answer. I mean, complete with quotes that they heard on the nightly news and everything, you know? It's just like, it's such awful stuff. And it's not even in the political sphere, it's in the social sphere as well, you know?
Sure. I believe in this, I believe in that.
Right.
If you don't put any more second thought into it, why would you? Just go stand in front of the abortion clinic with a sign and call women whores.
Yeah.
I mean, that's... And whether people like that or not, I label basically everybody conservative for that very reason.
Yeah. Well, that definition fits in that sense, because if you're not willing to change your beliefs, or you aren't actively, examining and rearranging your beliefs.
Well, sure.
You're
Answering questions directly.
Yeah.
I mean, like taking some kind of responsibility if somebody's taking the time to ask you something, then you're like, okay, well, I'll answer your question, and then you answer the question with some amount of thought rather than those ready-made answers. Because it's just, and then they say, well, who has the energy for that? Well, I don't know. The winner of the presidency, or just the winner in general, is the one that, the one that has the energy to think all the time.
Maybe I don't know enough about Ron Paul, but someone in the chat said, I think people will think Ron Paul is silly for ranting about the gold standard.
Mm-hmm.
He was ranting about the gold standard?
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean?
He's in America Freedom to Fascism when they're talking about the Federal Reserve. He does that. He's been known to. That's one of his policy changes he wants done as president is not necessarily the abolition, perhaps. I don't know how far he's gone, but abolition or the restructuring of the Federal Reserve and restoring the gold standard.
Sweet. And, the next one was, and his gun beliefs, quote, an armed society is a polite society.
Yeah.
That's funny.
I mean, but when it comes to guns, I mean, you don't really have to worry. See, gun control to a liberal is like is really confusing, and conservatives all want guns.
Yeah.
But to liberals are like, well, we'd like for you to be able to have a gun, but we don't want everybody to have guns, so they get torn up. So I think for the most part, gun control is kind of a non-issue, simply because of all the confusion surrounding it. No one can ever agree. And that's kind of like here in the state of Georgia, the House of Representatives just passed a bill, and it's going to Senate here in the state about carrying a concealed weapon in your vehicle, which you've been able to do that, carry it in your car, but it has to be unloaded, and it can't be anywhere convenient. It has to be either be in your glove box or in
What
a
the
console.
fuck?
It has to be closed. Yeah, it's a stupid.
What is that? Is that if you decide to go like range shooting when you're on a road trip or something?
I don't-
No, you need your gun next to you, so if something bad happens, you can reach for it.
That's the whole point of carrying a gun, I think.
That's so dumb.
Well, most states are like that. You can't carry concealed firearms.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah. No.
But they're coming around. But I was thinking about that today. I was kind of like, because I was reading an article on it last week, and I said today, and I was kind of thinking about it. I had a lot of time today. I kind of took it easy at work. But I was thinking about, because the cop unions, the police unions, always go and you always hear about Lieutenant Commander, who the hell ever, saying, well, it endangers the life of our police officers. And then all I can think is, everybody knows that if that law has saved the lives of so many officers simply because criminals won't break the law.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's like, so all right, the current law has saved. I mean, what? It's just stupid.
Yeah.
Gun control is a non-issue to me, especially when it comes to the presidency. Gun control it should be a state thing. It should be up to the states rather than any United States government policy.
Sure.
Here's where I start to get into my own ideal structure of government, where I'm generally arguing with you. Is that to help you understand a little bit better the way that I think is. Oh my God, Kat just came into the chat room.
Wow.
Kat, I missed you. I love you. What was I saying? I forgot them all.
Your ideal structure of government.
Yeah, because
Small, state, local.
Well, but the federal government needs to be there for some things, but gun control shouldn't be one of them. Neither should abortion. Neither should a lot of things. U.S. Supreme Court should hold jurisdiction over state courts, but they don't make national decisions.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. And it's minimalist government ideas that I have. So whenever I say non-issue, I'm speaking at federal level. Federal level, gun control should not be a fucking issue. And I don't want to hear a presidential candidate talk about gun control supporting the NRA or anything like that. Who cares?
Right. Well, I mean, one thing about gun control is that, police lobbying for, laws that would restrict what weapons people could carry on them, specifically so that, they could protect themselves from the assholes they're protecting. I think it's completely, one, kind of frightening, and two, kind of scary. I mean, yeah, these people, they take some they take some classes, right? They become professional officers of the law or whatever, and they get a gun. But what's to have you protect yourself from them? I mean, what's the guarantee that they're going to protect you at all costs? Because they're people,
For sure.
And I mean, they're people that go into a career where they do violent stuff. I mean, they can't be completely okay, at least not after 30 years on the job or whatever.
Sure.
So, you should, I mean, any time where the playing field isn't equal, it's a little bit frightening.
Right. I would agree with that to a large extent. I believe in police protection. One must.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't, that's kind of suicide. It is, because then you get the formation of militias, and then the most powerful one wins and becomes the police. So you might as well have a state-sponsored, citizen-enacted thing that is comprised of citizens rather than just one group that decided to get the most guns.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just speaking on obviously the direction that tends to go. That's why we have police. There's always been a police force. Anyway, I would agree with that, and it's nice to think that, I don't know what it's nice to think. I just lost my train of thought.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, you mentioned something that was very interesting, and then I totally forgot it because I haven't been writing anything down.
Yeah. Who cares? I still have a headache, and I'm just like, my eyes hurt. I'm tired, but I'm still kind of pumped though. I'm all right. And she's craving Doritos. I just wanted to talk to Kat for just a minute. She's craving Doritos because everybody knows that when John first started doing the show, after the official show, I would, I'd kind of kick back, throw the microphone in my lap, and just kind of talk to people and eat. And generally, Doritos. I went on that Doritos kick for a little bit. Oh, and I got a message from another regular. Remember Nicole?
Uh-huh.
She sent me a message last night. She's like, what's up?
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Well, is 26th of July one of those, fad things that you have for, a week until, 2 weeks until it gets boring or your life gets busy?
I don't know. You tell me. I think it is for most people.
Yeah, obviously not for me, because I don't do stuff.
Well, me either, but it's not, but see, that's the kind of thing. It's not really like a club or anything.
Yeah, it's just a free association of individuals who are interested in things.
Sure. Kind of hang out and talk, and then if everybody kind of gets together and says, hey, we want more, then we'll do it. If not, then we'll just kind of keep sitting around talking, as long as the server's free. Still free, by the way. Obviously, it wouldn't hurt to kind of throw in a nice big thank you again to Andre.
Thank you, Andre.
Yeah, greatest server administrator of all time, Andre. Yeah. What an exciting show this is.
Yeah, I know. And there's stuff is happening in the world, right? Stuff's always happening in the world. What about that? North Korea isn't it negotiating now? Hasn't it stopped being all isolationist? Oh, crazy.
I'm unsure. I think that they kind of reached out for a moment, and I remember the stories that came along in it. But I'm kind of blurry. I'm actually pretty blurry on a lot of stuff right now. I'm not able to think very clearly. So.
The UK.
Darfur rebel chief calls for a ceasefire. Head of one of Darfur's main rebel groups says he's willing to call a ceasefire if Sudan's government stops attacks on civilians in the war-torn region and agrees to renegotiate a peace deal. Renegotiate should be highlighted, obviously, because that bastard al-Bashir actually did sign a peace agreement with the rebels, and it lasted, 9 days? And attacks resumed. So they've been going ever since. So you've got one of the rebel leaders, calling out internationally for a ceasefire. I forgot about that, and I don't even know what it is now, but it just reminded me. Hold on. Trying to use the force. John McCain, what he said about Donald Rumsfeld. Oh, fuck, where's that news story? Because, it was great. Because I really don't like John McCain. And let me see. Hold on a minute.
One thing that I just want to rant about for a quick second is, kind of cool. Bush, he was governor of Texas for a good long while. And then he left and became president, and we got his second in command, Rick Perry, who we voted in a couple times because we like him here. Against all logic, we like Rick Perry here, and he has been imposing all of these things, kind of following Bush's lead. Well, following Bush's lead on policy, but kind of following Bush's lead in his presidency, where it's kind of like, the executive branch kicks all ass and the legislature is going to follow me. He's, I don't know. He's saying I don't exactly know how all this stuff breaks down, but I know he introduces all this shit and it becomes law. Like the wall thing, the wall. Yeah, there's the wall along the border, and there is other stuff. But recently, there was human papillomavirus.
Genital warts.
Yes, it's the virus. Causes that, and in some women it causes cervical cancer, and there's the shot for it now. And the company
that's a pretty big deal. People are kind of worried about that.
Well, you're worried? What?
People are kind of worried because it would encourage. It's basically saying, okay, now you're immune to this most popular STD out there. So,
really? It makes you immune to genital warts?
Yeah, if you get the shot.
That's cool. Okay, well that makes the rest of it really funny because, so the drug company, they wanted to push this. They were lobbying to get this.
Well, let me clarify and say that it makes you immune to the strains that are known to cause cervical cancer in women.
Oh, so only.
So I don't know all the specific. I don't know if it stops all strains or what.
Okay, I'll tell my friends. Hear that, kids. Okay, so the drug company was lobbying all these different local governments to require it for the youngsters, And so Rick Perry said that every, 6-year-old kid in public school in Texas, or I think maybe even all 6-year-old kids in Texas, have to get the HPV virus shot. And it hasn't been tested thoroughly. There haven't been long-term studies on the effects of it. It's not even completely necessary, only some people, actually develop it. And it's like $300 per shot, and the state would pay for all of it. It's completely insane. So a whole herd of, a whole new generation of wart-free children. Okay, well, some judges, or a judge or something, decided that he was overstepping his power with the bills he's been introducing and stuff. And so,
self-checking ability is a virtue.
Yeah, basically slapped him on the wrist, or on the face, or slapped him somewhere, and I thought that was kind of interesting. More checking of the executive branch.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Well, I was kind of glancing here at something interesting, because I guess I'm stuck on John McCain, and just how much of an asshole he is, and how he's the biggest in the news, but I'm looking at poll reports here, that, for the second straight week, former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani holds a 14 percentage point lead in the race for the Republican presidential nomination.
Wow.
Yeah, which is
that
interesting.
That would be, an upset, wouldn't it? That'd be unexpected.
Well, kind of.
John McCain and Ron Paul would be kind of like...
Well, we're 2 years from the election, so...
Yeah.
I don't think anything would be unexpected, but... Well, the Republican nomination occurs when? I don't know. I don't know when they vote for the caucus.
It's this year, right?
I think so, right at the end of the year or something, August or something. Anyway, I can't think of much worse than John McCain getting elected than Rudy Giuliani. I mean, there are lots of you hear the comments here and they're like, "Oh, he really cleaned up New York and this and that." No, New Yorkers hated Rudy Giuliani. They did.
The only way he'd get elected would be on gimmick, right?
Kinda, and it's kind of like the guy was awful. I mean, really. But he maintained the.
The second person that comes to mind when I think of that sort of gimmicky governor type of thing is the governor of Louisiana.
Yeah.
That guy was a peach. He was awesome.
Yeah.
I gotta go on.
Well, that's kind of the thing, and that's why I talk about like strong contenders and stuff like that, which is basically, who cares about their history? People are just like voting because they hate the Republican or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with something like Rudy Giuliani. It's like, oh my God, I don't know. I'd leave if Giuliani's elected president. I guess I'll just go ahead and make the announcement now. I gotta go. I'm going to Canada.
Wait, though. Would he be the first, like, non-old white guy to be president?
He's an old white guy.
But his last name's Giuliani.
Yeah,
Isn't he, like Italian?
Yeah, he's probably several generations separated. He's an American, and he's a dickweed.
Right. Well, okay, tell me, why don't you like, McCain? I want to hear this. I want to hear specifics. Because I honestly, McCain's kind of famous before I came into the scene, so.
Well,
the scene, as in the political sphere.
the whole thing
quotes.
about, especially, his support of President Bush. And then he would turn around and disagree with President Bush and align himself with Democrats. And then he'd turn around and say, oh, wait a minute. I've changed my mind, and now I want to now support our president, support all of his actions. It was just like the Geneva Convention thing. He disagreed with initially. He was a prisoner of war in Vietnam, and then the president reworded it into the Military Commission Act, and then he voted for it, and nothing else was ever said. And then when was it? Well, it was right before the elections for the Democrats. He was standing next to Hillary Clinton and all these, doing these speeches. These images are just flashing through my mind of some of the things I've seen him doing. Just being there.
Do you find him like sleazy?
He is your prototypical politician. Everything that you can't trust, everything that just rubs you the wrong way about politicians, that's what that guy is. And he made his, what I was talking about with what he did with Rumsfeld, was he made some comments the other day about Rumsfeld being the worst Secretary of Defense the United States has ever had. He said he was an awful Secretary of Defense. But actually, when he announced his resignation, Rumsfeld, McCain did a support speech for him and said he'll be remembered as one of the best Secretary of Defense we've ever had. Yeah. It's like, really?
Oh, douche.
But that's the whole thing about politics, is that you can do that, and he's that.
People have short attention spans, right?
That's right. That's why I say that he is your prototypical politician, because he understands that, and he can do whatever tide is flowing to keep himself up in the news and in everybody's eye. That's what he's good at. He's an excellent politician. He is.
He's like that asshole in like school who you see everywhere and everything.
Yeah.
But who's friends with nobody?
Right. Yeah. No one really likes him. They're kind of friends with him, or they talk with him simply because he knows everybody.
Ew. Kind of feel sorry for him.
No, I don't feel sorry for him at all. Fuck him.
Okay, we'll fuck him and then feel sorry for him, I guess.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, people need to just fucking smarten up.
No, that's not gonna happen.
I mean, or get rid of people running their lives.
Yeah.
And then take responsibility for their own damn lives.
No. That's a lot of work.
Take your responsibility for your own life?
Yeah.
You need to learn that in elementary school.
Nah, not really. Not anymore, the way they coddle kids, man. I mean, just look at the protections that kids have and everything. The laws about spanking, making the news that you're not allowed to spank your kids in certain states, and it's just ridiculous.
Well, if the kids say no, don't spank me, you shouldn't spank those kids.
I don't believe in spanking at all. I'm just saying, what's with states taking all responsibility out of parents' hands?
Well, no. If the kid says no, then, I mean, if we're working within the legal system here, then...
Well, I'm saying,
somebody
why
be
is
able
the
to-
legal system dictating what the hell, how you're raising your kids anyway? Simply because people don't want the personal responsibility of raising kids. That's
Yeah,
where daycare came from.
Hold on. Spanking, okay, that could be seen as a protection for the kids, because, you know, if like a 6-year-old who has cognitive abilities and knows when something hurts, you know, is like, hey, bitch, don't spank me, and then she goes ahead and beats the crap out of him anyway. Yeah, he needs protection.
That's fine. I understand that, but it's not a state issue. It's a non-issue, because that's where welfare programs come in. I don't mean welfare like the check. I mean child welfare services. That's where that comes in. If a kid goes to school and they're bitching about being spanked, then okay, well then do something about that parent. But it's not up to the state to make laws. But see, you should be agreeing with me here.
Well,
You're the one that doesn't believe in all the laws and government and stuff. And
no, because that's like how dare the government make laws that you can't hit your girlfriend.
Well, yeah, pretty much.
I mean, I guess if the girlfriend's into it and the kid's into it, and it's like, yeah, mom, spank me.
Yeah.
Whatever, then fine. Go ahead, but as long as it's voluntary, if it's not voluntary, then...
Well, whatever, I'm just saying, when it comes to interactions between adults, I mean, you have violent people.
Coddling of children and this,
well, that's basically what I'm saying, and so it's kind of like... Well,
round the edges on the play blocks, so they don't stab themselves in the arm.
Yeah, and that came from people not wanting to take responsibility. I mean, you've got a whole generation of parents out there that doesn't take personal responsibility for what their kids do. And you shouldn't necessarily take personal responsibility, but you are responsible, whether you like it or not. It's not your personal responsibility for every decision that they make, but it's your responsibility to try and shape and mold and whatever. Raise your own goddamn kids, in other words. But then whenever you're sending them off to daycare and they do the extracurricular activities, which are positive, and then when they get home, they sit on the computer and they watch TV, and then they go to bed, and then they wake up in the middle of the night and sit on MySpace and whatever. What do you think's going to happen? All of a sudden, there's laws being passed about not spanking kids, because now kids, they run their own lives. I mean, just completely, totally independently of parental control.
Kind of.
Yeah, it is a kind of. It's a kind of a thing. I'm just making general statements, but it just,
There's definitely more freedom, and especially since they can network. It's like workers' parties, like children's parties.
Yeah.
They can get together and gang up and demand rights and stuff. Because children don't have rights. Teenagers don't have rights.
Well,
not nearly as many.
But how many? I mean, really, what kind of should you write a constitution for children? I don't think so, because there's a fundamental thing about family that you can't put laws on. I mean,
well, no,
especially when it comes to culture.
Put laws on something, but
there are different cultures that raise their sure in the United States, anywhere in the world. I mean, different cultures raise their children differently.
Raise their children differently, yeah. But I mean, as far as listen, if someone has, sapient abilities, cognitive abilities, they're aware and they're self-aware and they're aware that they are self-aware, then you should have just as many rights as anybody else, who has the same abilities. And not to say that, geniuses have more rights than,
But they should.
Retards.
They should.
I don't know about that. Just as long as you are...
I do. I'd have lots of rights.
as long as you are, self-aware and aware of that self-awareness, you're all on the same level as everyone else who's sapient. But you should have the same rights as them as well. Just because you're a few months younger or 10 years younger doesn't mean you shouldn't have the same rights. And I don't think smacking up a 7-year-old is any better than smacking up, a 30-year-old. The only difference is if they try and fight back, they probably won't win. As far as that goes, with any sort of discipline, but
telling
basic
basic
them what they
protection.
can and can't do.
Basic protection should be there. I mean, That's what laws are for basic protections of rights, not to make laws to give rights, but to protect certain ones, which is like safety and security and shit. So, I buy into that.
Sure.
I believe in that.
Uh-huh.
But especially for children. But it's kind of like, how far do you go? And it's like I said, you don't go and pass laws about
Well, okay, family is basically just a contract, okay? And I'm actually going to write up a contract with my mom pretty soon. It's going to be awesome.
Are you going to do one of those emancipation things?
No, because I like the contract that we have, the verbal contract that we have, but I just want to work it out and put it on paper with actual stipulations and kind of remove some gray areas.
Jesus
Yeah. Anyway,
unfortunately, you can't sign a legal.
Yes, unfortunately,
contract.
I can't sign because I apparently have less mental abilities than a friend of mine who is, a year and a month older.
No, well, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
When are you turning 17, by the way?
March 28th, which is a Wednesday.
Huh. Well, you're considered an adult at 17. You can do many things. You can't sign legally binding papers, but
no, you can't. No, but you're not a full adult. No, you're not a full adult.
I know, but there are some rights that do come to you when you're 17. A lot of doors open up, especially like if you do want to leave home or whatever. I'm just saying that like if you wanted to leave home or something, you could just do it, and you could fight that yourself in court if your mom tried to do whatever.
Yeah. But I mean, you can't. I mean, you can't even apply for a job without getting your parents to sign, right?
At 17, I believe you can.
Are you sure? Because you can't sign for yourself. If you're not 18, you can't sign for yourself. And you can't vote. Not that I would encourage voting or anything, but you can't vote, and
how dare you?
You can't, smoke, and you can't fucking drink until you're 21. So you're not even a full person until you're 21.
Well, that's probably a good thing.
Didn't stop you.
No, it didn't, and it doesn't.
It doesn't stop anybody.
Right, but well, I don't know.
If anything,
well, it's the same thing with drug control because it's ineffective. People
totally.
still going to get it, so it's like I don't know.
Should we make it more effective?
Non-issue. No, it's non-issue. It really.
Right.
Just basic non-issue.
Let people do whatever the hell they want with their bodies. 6-year-olds, let them do what they want.
Well, yeah, as an adult, you can do whatever you want with your body. Drug addiction is not against the law. You know what I'm saying? There are plenty of people out there killing themselves with taking pills and heroin or whatever, and then there are clinics that you can go to for methadone and stuff like that.
The premise for drug laws and the premise for this alcohol laws and smoking laws and things like that. Okay, that's on the premise that these things are bad for you. They're substances that are bad for you, and they're as far as alcohol and cigarettes go, they're not tolerable for your body until this age, when we decide you can have them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, what about all those other things that are bad for you?
Well,
there's so much shit out there that's, it's like sugar, right? But, that'd be like you can't eat a banana, because it has sugar. No, I don't know.
No, I just mean like high fructose corn syrup.
Yeah,
it's really awful.
I hate that stuff. Anyway.
Well, it tastes pretty good. It's just, it's
it makes me feel like so sick.
It's one of the most awful things that you can put into your body.
Yeah. Well, if you apply the premise that it's bad for you, especially for drugs, why the fuck can't we have drugs? Because
I said so.
I don't know, because they're bad for you, right? Because they're too easily addicted.
No, you can't have them because there's a drug trade out there and a lot of government money that needs to be spent. Watch my War on Everything video to get an idea of what I'm talking about.
I've seen it many times.
That's what that's about.
Not just talking to the government. If you go up to the average person on the street, who isn't, who's for whatever the norm, who would be conservative, no matter what their political affiliation, who's just generally conservative, as far as laws go, and you present them with that rationale, they're not going to say, we have to have illegal drugs because of, the war on drugs and all this conspiracy shit. No. They're going to say because it's bad for you, right? And Big Brother, has to kind of watch out for us so we don't mess ourselves up.
Well,
it applies to every.
There's actually a third explanation for it, which is actually pretty rational, and I would tend to agree with it in probably 50% of the cases.
Yeah.
Which is, okay, a government kind of steps back and makes all this legal or whatever, then you've got one, two, or possibly even three scenarios going on. Number one is a state-sanctioned drug use, simply because they allow it to go on within their borders, which is not good in the world's eyes. And then you've got, okay, well then fine, so they do that. Okay, when they're willing to deal with the flack that they're catching from around the world. But another one is, all right, well, it still needs to be a controlled substance, or an uncontrolled substance under regulation, like cigarettes or alcohol. So then it needs to be taxed. But now when it's being taxed, and the purchases, that money to the people that consider themselves highly moral or whatever, then they're saying, well, why are we paying taxes and stuff when this drug trade and they're paying in all these taxes? This is dirty money, in other words. It's funding our government.
Well, that's all if you keep the moral stigma attached to it, yeah. Definitely.
Well, that's in most of the world, moral stigma will be attached.
Yeah, but look at the U.S. government. We love legislating morality. We're going to legislate this shit, and you're going to follow it eventually. If you go to our schools, you're going to learn.
Yeah, I'm just saying, but
it's a good thing.
There's also the whole international standard thing, like I mentioned.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
You've got the.
But
so
the U.S. is also like a leader in a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So we do something, we call it socially acceptable. And if anything, we have Amsterdam to back us up, and be like, look at all this, we're having fun. Whatever. Anyway, fuck that. Make everything, I don't know, make sovereignty legal. How about that?
Well, it's like I said, there must be an organization among people. It's not that it must be, it's just that there will be. So if you descend into chaos, then it'll hold on.
I had a realization the other day. Chaos. Alright. Okay. In any form of individualism, like, just say libertarian individualism, where everyone owns themselves. Everyone owns themselves and what they mix their labor with, or get through trading, or gift. Fine. So there are clear-cut laws as to who owns what. Okay, and then you look at the polar opposite, which is communism, right? Where there is no private property. And everybody owns everything, and everyone owns nothing, right? Well, who decides what to do with what? Where are the lines? There are no lines. It's just a big circle.
Well, in either case,
that seems like chaos. I don't know. Communism, I had the realization yesterday. Communism seems like chaos.
Look at both sides objectively, and you'll see they're essentially the same. When you get you get because you get the same questions raised. Who decides?
Who decides? If in any in any kind of individualist philosophy, individually structured society, is the individual who owns the property decides what they want to do with their property because they own it, right? If it's a collective, the collective has to decide that who's more powerful in the collective.
But even as individuals, people tend to kind of there's a community thing. Remember, humans are social creatures, so there will be social structures, and anywhere there's social structures.
I never said no social structures. And I never even said no commonly owned property. But
forget about property for a minute. I'm just saying that whenever you have social structures, you end up with a voice of a common people. And that's how states get created, eventually.
Right, well, voice of common people, fine, but as long as those common people can go home to their shit and be like, this is mine, so don't touch it, or I'll, defend myself. As long as they can do that, and freely trade amongst themselves. then fine.
And that's and it's like I said, that's a great idea, but it's like I said, it's you've got two extremes, and goddamn, we're not going to get started on this again because one day.
Yeah, no, I know.
I just want. I mean, I just can't say it enough that okay, well that's fine, and you give everybody these individual rights and everything, but based on the fact that humans are a social species, and anywhere you have a social structure, there tends to be created organization, and organization is essentially government. And then people elect leaders into power.
No. Yeah, just like religion. Religion, especially the Catholic Church, it's a government within itself. Discounting the fact that the Vatican is a city-state.
Sure.
Discounting that. The way
it's
it's
an
structured,
entity.
It's an entity. It's a hierarchy with lots of people on the bottom that follow the people on the top. It's a government.
But see,
the Pope governs, but I'm not opposed to that because it's voluntary.
Well, yeah. But
if they start having another crusade, that's not very voluntary. So.
Well, yeah, it is. It's still voluntary. People that
Crusades?
choose to adhere to that religion.
Crusades are not voluntary. The Crusades, they ran out and killed people.
Yeah, but you're talking about total.
Or we're going to slaughter you.
Yeah, but whenever you say volunteering, you're basically talking about totally passiveness. I mean, totally passive society. Yeah, you're talking about everybody has to be completely passive.
No.
Yeah, because anything
you
would do to someone else would be involuntary on their behalf.
No, not if it's voluntary. Okay. Difference between voluntary and involuntary here, John.
I know the difference. Well, what I'm saying is
hold on.
You put the two of us in a room, right? And we've got totally equal rights. Everything's all voluntary, and we own our own shit. But the minute that I come over and take something from you,
you're aggressing against my
property. That's right. And you're involuntary. But wait a minute.
I want you to have it.
But
what?
But whether you wanted me to have it or not, it doesn't matter. I wanted it.
Well, then I kick your ass.
Well, you'll try. But
I'll try, yeah.
Well, that's right. But if I'm more powerful than you, and I just go ahead and beat the hell out of you, and then I'll just take the rest of your stuff too. But you got to understand, there are people like that in the world.
Well, yeah, the mob.
And the ideas that you have are great. Problem is, they won't work. When it comes to that individual right thing, because without protections, because you need protection from me in that room, you would need it.
Maybe.
Just for the example, I'm just saying you would.
Well,
need
whether or not I would, whether or not it would work like exactly how it would in philosophy.
I know.
Or not. It doesn't really matter because things never work like they do on in theory. But the fact is that if there was a general respect for a common human right of property, and general adherence, of the general public, where they.
I'm losing you, Sally.
Think, murder is bad.
Sally.
And I'm sorry.
Are you downloading something?
Hello.
Hello.
Mm-mm.
Okay, you're breaking all up.
Hello.
Can you hear me clearly?
Maybe it's time to end the show. Yeah, I can.
Okay. Well, it's like you're fading away and kind of breaking up a little bit. I figure maybe you were downloading something, or maybe you're checking your email. Oh, okay.
Nope.
Well, I get what you're saying. It's just, it's basically kind of like this. Well, that stuff's fun to think about, and it's real.
Fun to think about, but not important.
Yeah.
No, bullshit.
No, but wait a minute. But think about it. What are we? What good is that really doing if you're not trying to apply certain principles to any current structure that we have?
I do try and apply principles to the structure that is my life and the interactions that the social interactions that I participate in every single day. I don't coerce against other people. Coercion, being the threat of force, and I certainly don't initiate force against any person, or being or entity.
Certainly
whatever.
not.
Certainly not. I'm an ex-pacifist. I have ways that I abide to, but and What else? I don't know.
Everybody's saying you're a robot.
Basically it. Really?
Yeah, in the chat room. By the way, we missed a call. I don't know who the hell it was, but
Really?
yeah. Well, I need to end. Well, we can just end the official show, and then if you want to, I need to run to the store.
I have like homework and sleeping, and
All right.
I have to get ready for bed and stuff.
Go to the store. Or I mean, do all that stuff. That's what I was saying. I need to go to the store. But anyway, all right. Well, this will be the end of the show then. We'll let Sally go, and I'll just leave the voiceover running. I'll be back in 10 minutes or 15 minutes or whatever, and I'll play some music or yeah, maybe I'll, just because I probably won't be able to sleep. Anyway, Sally, thank you.
Very welcome. Thank you, John.
And stuff. And we're getting the call again. Let's go ahead and take it.
Okay.
Just real quickly. Hello, you're on the air.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
Great.
Hey, Sally.
Hey.
Diana Chance over here.
Alright.
So, the guys are pretty, going at it in the chat room over there. I was already having a, not such a great day. And, they come to me, tell me, those sexy videos, you're crazy. And then they start saying, that this stuff that you're talking about, Sally, is pretty stupid, that you're a robot. I mean, that's just ridiculous for them to make statements like that. It just made me upset. It's like they're all ganging up.
Oh. Well, it is a chat room after all.
Yeah. Chat rooms,
Yeah,
they have mom mentalities, don't they? I mean, I swear they do.
And so do people, Sally. So that's a pretty good example for you. You let people alone to their own individual freedoms and rights, and you can say whatever you want, and this happens. Congratulations.
Whatever.
This is what you wanted.
It's just verbal.
Yeah. Well, in real life, I'm sure some of the people would, would be throwing rocks at least.
Oh, that's awful.
Yeah, well, that's people.
Okay,
Well, I guess the only thing that you have to do, which I have a real hard time doing, is just agreeing when somebody is acting that way. But I just can't do it. I need to get to the point where I just shut up, because it's such what they say, what they argue about. It's so small-minded, and it's so narrow-minded. That's what I'm trying to say, and it's so old-fashioned, if that's the word I'm trying. Yeah, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people nowadays, we understand things a lot better than we used to 100 years ago, and and that's the way they're expressing themselves. I find it pretty sad, so and upsetting too to come across them. Anyways, I guess I shouldn't take it personally, but the mere fact that I came across them, they directed their attention at me and are using, their their beliefs that are so most people are just don't even think about anymore. It's distressing. It shouldn't be, but I'm just saying.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
Doing like those videos on YouTube that are pretty sexy and
Right.
definitely heavy on sexuality and stuff. Do you ever have a problem with sexism? Do you ever get frustrated of people maybe just focusing on the fact that you're a woman or anything? I mean, not just in those videos, because those videos are pretty,
I don't, because you know what? When somebody contacts me, and wants to get to, they usually want to get to know me first before they do or say anything that they maybe should or shouldn't be saying, whatever. And once they realize that I'm not, your typical sexy girl that has, I don't want to say has no brains, because I believe that most sexy girls do have brains, but they've been put down so much, they actually believe that they don't, so they act according to what they believe, not according to what they are. Now, in my case, I understand these things, so, and I know who I am. I have self-respect, you know, and those videos, some people, that's not self-respect. Okay, well, if that's what they think, that's fine. To me, it's fun. It's sex. Sex is part of life. So what's the big deal? What is so wrong with it? You know, as long as, you know, they come to me and the people I'm interested in meeting or talking to are at the same intellectual level that I am or beyond, then, you know, I'm going to respect them. And the ones that don't have that, or I don't admire, or I don't have anything to, you know, I don't find anything in common with, I'll just dismiss them, and they'll get upset, sure. And they'll start using all this sexism, you know, what are you doing, you know, you're a whore, you're this, that, the other. I mean, that's why I have to, because of the same nature of the videos, I knew I would have to moderate the comments, you know, or else there'd be all kinds of negative stuff there from girls, mostly, I think. And, you know, some guys that, you know, have old-fashioned views about it, or that don't have a hot girl at home, and it's pretty upsetting for them to find out that, you know, they are actually out there. So, I personally don't have a problem with that. Nobody ever puts me, I mean, unless they're in front of a computer and they can't see me in person, there's no way I'm ever treated any differently than anybody else, because I speak up and they know I'm not stupid and it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen, and I'm not this stereotypical blonde. Well, I'm not blonde anymore. I just dyed my hair, but I was. Or a girl that you know acts in a way that is, you know, sexually charged. That's just me. I mean, what can I do? Why go against my own nature? I have fun doing these videos, and I have fun that people have fun watching them. You know, I don't find anything wrong with it, and if it's not hurting anybody, really, who is it hurting? Something that hurts somebody else is it's something that's wrong. Unless you think that that's hurting other women, and why?
Well, I don't think it's really hurting anybody, except people maybe who are overly, you know, overly conservatively moral, or maybe like old-timeish, whatever, prudish or something. I don't know. But yeah, well, I kind of lost where I was going with the whole feminism thing, but yeah, it's kind of hard to like ask for equal rights and stuff. Equal rights isn't like individual sort of right to property stuff, and then like there's all these like social mores that are that are so like imbalanced.
Yeah. And that's the end of the show, folks. I hate to cut you guys off, but
oh no, fine. I need to go to sleep. I
Diana,
thought the show was already over.
Yeah, well, it kind of was, but Diana called, and then so I figured I'd give her a minute to speak her mind. Thanks for calling, Diana.
Sure.
Welcome, absolutely anytime.
Okay, well, thanks for having me.
All right, good night.
Bye. Good night.
And with that, we'll say good night. And so what I was saying was, anyway, I was thinking about changing the show time to 9 o'clock on Wednesdays. What do you think?
Means I'd have to be here at 8 because I'm.
Is that not?
No, I mean it's fine.
Nah. Oh, you can keep it at 10. It's just, I mean.
No, it'd probably be better because I wouldn't be so like tired. My phone has a calendar. I will never miss another show again. It has an alarm and all that. So
Oh yeah.
I set it for like the next month.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's too bad because I was going to fire you later after the show. Just kidding. All right. Well, then good night and stuff. Enjoy your homework and and I guess that's it.
Okay. Good night.
And for everybody, obviously, I'll just leave the server on. I'll be back, and then Sally won't be until Sunday. I'll talk to you sometime this week, Sally. Enjoy.
Bye.
Bye. For everybody else, blah, 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 Atlanta. And almost forgot what I was going to say. Bah humbug.